Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. My name is KPZ. You're here on the home of the slightly above average ship review. We are on tiers. We are down tier in the Italian Tier 8 destroyer Adriatico in a domination match. Adriatico never made it off the paper except as the Tashkent. This is OTO, Oderno, Terni, Orlando. That's the name of the shipyard. What their design for an Italian ship would be. So essentially it's a Tashkent with 135 millimeter guns, which Italy introduced in a ship that is not in the game, to my knowledge at this point. Really quickly, I want to give a hat tip to a user on Reddit named Greenster101. He says, it's a bit weird, but I go Rizzo with a full Hun build and take RGA instead of concealment mod. So I think what he's saying there is he goes with a full Hunter build. He's talking about Cuniberti, but I applied that to Adriatico because I was not having a lot of luck having good games in Adriatico. And so, as you can see, our detectability is 6.4 kilometers. We do have the RGA mod, which makes the minimum detectability of enemy ships 3 kilometers. And other than that, we're using Rizzo in a full gunboat build. I also have the rudder shift mod in mod slot 2 and not the propulsion mod. So, I'm not saying this is going to work in every circumstance. It's going to work in this circumstance. I would strongly advise you in this ship not to use your smoke generator or your emergency engine boost unless you have, you should only use those when you're trying to get away. So here we're going to use them offensively, but I'm going to use them offensively because I have the enemy ships relatively isolated when I use them. Okay. So just be aware that if you're in the midst of multiple ships, the only way you're going to be able to get away is your emergency engine power and your rolling smoke screen. All right, torpedoes out on Frederick de Gross. Watching those move in. The first salvo is going to miss. The second salvo. And we do get one torpedo strike. And we're going to continue to skirt the outside of the cap. Notice I'm not going into the cap. I do not want to give away anything to anybody. Okay, so I am remaining as concealed as I can. Now, granted, he is about to spot me. That is true. And so here we're going to lead him a little bit with our torp salvo. Zooming back in. Again, I'm just trying to get parallel to the enemy ship when I launch those torps. Because in this ship, because your torpedoes don't do a lot of damage, you really have to make them count. All right, we are spotted. I'm going to kick on the rolling smoke screen and begin engaging the Frederick de Gross with my semi-armor piercing shells. We are getting cap defended flags here. More SAP salvo inbound, and he can't get away from those torpedoes, folks. We finish him off for our first kill in Adriatico. All right, we'll dip into the cap here and assist with capping. And things don't change too much from my earlier videos in terms of your role. You got to cap, you got to take out enemy destroyers, preferably 1v1, isolated from the rest of it. With this build, because you have the RGA mod, if they're closing in on you, you can hit that rolling smoke. Many destroyers will not use the RGA mod, they'll use the concealment mod. So you'll have 1 kilometer where you'll be able to spot them, they won't be able to spot you, and that is the zone in which you need to use your torpedoes. Here we are backing up, just trying to line up this next ship, which is a Montana, and we're going to go forward, bow in on him, And again, just trying to get that parallel sight line for our torpedoes. Here we're going to finish this off for a solo base cap. All right, target number 2, again, isolated ship. I'm not going to say this is going to happen to you, everybody, all the time. I'm going to tell you that this is a luxury in this ship to get an isolated enemy ship, and this is one without very good secondaries. Really need to take advantage of that. We got a salvo torpedoes on the way. We set the Montana on fire. We are continuing to shoot high explosive. Montana is turning out towards us, which, I mean, by all stretch of the imagination or by any reasonable measure would be a good play. All right, we engage our second rolling smoke screen. I expect this first salvo of torpedoes to totally miss, and they do. We're spotted because he's within 2.5 kilometers, but he didn't turn far enough around. So we're on the opposite side of the ship from his guns. Montana doesn't have good secondaries. Widespread here at close range. Don't be afraid to use widespread in a battleship. All right, 4 torpedo strikes. Kill number 2. Unfortunately for us, not a death strike. He took too much damage. But I did the widespread because I wanted to not run into a scenario where a damage-saturated section of the ship prevented him from dying. So I would only use widespread at close range on a ship like that. All right, so I'm feeling pretty good about my build right now. We got just short of 70,000 damage. GK over here, we're working on a torpedo reload. And the GK appears slightly distracted. Again, we have the benefit of the island providing us cover. We're going to light him up with some SAP. We're going to torp out 1 salvo only, repair that damaged part of the ship, and skirt behind the island here and avoid his secondaries. I hate to say it, if I had gone any closer, I think it would have been lights out. Some ship puts up a sonar, that's not going to matter. You know that. We're behind an island, hidden behind the rock. And you know what else isn't going to matter? He's still going to eat some of these torpedoes. Maybe just 1. It's still more than 0. All right, so torpedo strike on the GK. It wasn't what I hoped for, but considering he had sonar, I am not complaining. Again, his turrets are on the other side of the ship. Here we're going to hit our rolling smoke screen again. And in a minute here, I'm going to turn the bow, get these torpedoes out. Kind of slow torpedoes, so you have to lead the ship a lot. That's what was going on there. But because he turned out, because of what we did, here he's going to take a smash and get killed by our teammate. All right, just 2 red ships left remaining. The blue team is doing a fantastic job today. We are over 100,000 damage. Got this cruiser back over here out of my range. And somewhere out there we've got a destroyer. And I'm hoping to get a 1v1 destroyer fight to end this game. All right, cruiser looks maybe like a Congress. To be quite honest, I really didn't get a good look at that. I'm going to let somebody else handle that. I'm also going to let somebody else handle the Bravo base cap, simply because I've got bigger and better things to do. All right, it's a Worcester. All right, we're turning. We're shooting SAP at the Worcester, so check this out. Worcester at range. And you can see the SAP actually doing fair damage, 4 penetrations, enough to make the Worcester turn away. And so, yeah, it works against soft-skinned cruisers, folks. Again, he's not shooting back at us, so we have the ability to shoot with impunity on the Worcester. Here, she's turning back around. We're trying to lead him a little bit. And we do get some more hits, but we leave him just on the cusp, and somebody else finishes him off. All right, so torpedoes are in the water. We know the enemy destroyer is somewhere over near this island. It is a Shima. Second set of torpedoes. Keep in mind the Shima has 3 sets. I think he may have shot all 3, but There's the third set. Never mind. So he is out of torpedoes. So we really have nothing to worry about here other than someone else pinching the kill from us. Using our radio direction finder indicator, we are headed towards where I think the Shima will be. We are spotted because we're very detectable. The Shima also spotted. Full salvo out on the Shima into the smoke screen. Good hits there. We're going to fire blindly into the smoke. We get another hit there. We're going to torp into where we last saw the Shima. And then, because this is our cap, we're going to exit the cap, heading towards the RDF indicator, hoping to catch a glimpse of the Shima and to finish him off. Although, to be honest, there shouldn't be much left. Anyway, I totally forgot to give you any of the stats from WoW's builds. So we'll do that here in a minute. We finish off the Shima with this very next salvo. Sayonara means goodbye. Alright, going to WoW's builds very, very quickly. Adriatico damage record 140,057. Base XP record 3,102. Sigma 2.0. Fires per minute 4.55. And we don't have an arming threshold for SAP, but we can say the torpedo reaction time is 6.87 seconds. All right, here we are on the victory screen. 122,285 total damage, 7 big torpedo strikes, 3 big kills, a solo base cap. We ended up with a bunch of progress ribbons, 367,967 silver, and over 6,500 ship XP and commander XP in Adriatico. So I'm not saying that build you just saw is going to work for everybody. I'm just saying in this game, in this circumstance, it seemed to work pretty well for me. And there we are at the top of the board, folks. 2849 base XP, 3 big kills. You know the damage record, you know the base XP record. We're just below that. And so, all in all, I think that bears out that this build is viable, at least under the right circumstances for this ship. So if you've been frustrated with Adriatico like I've been frustrated, hang on. We're going to go over all this stuff in the port, show you how to build out this ship. All right, here we are. Upgrades. Here is where the changes are. All right, I don't know what I'm waiting for, but aiming system mod 1. Here's our first change. Steering gears mod 2, which you need in this ship. Third change, target acquisition system mod 1. You can see really helps out. And main battery mod 3. And Adriatico is fully upgraded, but it's slot 1 and slot 2 that if you're going to make the changes to the ship, that's where you should make them in this build. So steering gears we put on instead of the propulsion mod, and we put on the RGA mod instead of putting on the concealment mod. And so that way, in theory, you can activate that smoke screen and at some point see the enemy ships if you're relatively close. Here's that rolling exhaust smoke generator and the emergency engine power. Really kind of key to getting this done and making this useful. Although I will still reiterate, in my opinion, Italian ships really excel when they're in a platoon with a ship with spotting like a carrier or just teammates in general. All right, there's the rest of the stuff as far as our loadout goes. Here's the specs. 21,800 hit points with our build. Got those 3 twin 135mm turrets, 10.8 kilometer firing range, 4.9 second reload, 17.1 second turn time, HE shells 1950 max damage with a 9% fire chance, SAP shells 2750 max damage. 2 quad launchers reload every 90 seconds, max damage just a kind of a pitiful 12,663, 7, something like that. 12 kilometer range, which is good, 56 notch, which is not good. And the detectability is 1,000 meters. AA defense, it sucks. Moving on. Max speed, 40.2 knots, 750 meter turning circle, 4.4 second rudder shift time. Concealment, 6.4 on the surface, 3.6 from the air, 2.9 when firing in smoke. So you're going to give yourself away, but that's okay. All right, here on the stats screen, we have a pitiful winning percentage in this ship. Although our kill-death ratio is 1.0, this last game was our best game in terms of kills, max damage, max XP, because maybe all the other games were terrible because this is how you have to construct this ship. You know, just kind of my guess. And I would play it in the mid-range in terms of a gunboat. All right, looking at the armor viewer, you can see the turrets are more heavily armored. Other than that, not as heavily armored. I think the Tashkent has an armor plate along the side that this ship does not have, if I'm remembering that right. All right, here's the commander, Luigi Rizzo, still doing a double concealment build. We cannot afford to become more detectable in this ship, but we're playing it like a mini cruiser. So we got Bay and Swirsky, you know, and that's what I would go with. Your mileage may vary. If you want to get into hit points with Sims, you can do that. Base trait really doesn't do a lot, in my opinion. Pure gunboat build, observant rage, look at me now, twist and track, smoke on the water, and unstoppable. I really wish there was a fourth row skill there aside from just these two. I think ships like this could really benefit from it. Anyway, that's the Adriatico, folks. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe. I will see you on the next one. Thanks so much for watching.